that screwy valley hooey Hollywood.
Hello, welcome to OUTview's second annual Oscar preview. This is MK Scott. In part one, we will talk with the man behind the hosts, and in this year's case, hosts. How will writing for two different funny men be different than writing for one? I had only heard of Bruce Vilanch about 10 years ago from watching him on the Hollywood Squares and as the subject of the documentary We Got Bruce. It turns out that I had been a fan my whole life, from the gayest moments of the Donnie Marie show to the embarrassing but memorable Brady Bunch variety show to the Star Wars holiday special, which I actually saw a nice little spoof this last December with the Seattle Men's Chorus, to some of the greatest moments in TV history, to making every major comedian funny. We met in person for the first time in 2001, and I felt so secure that I was in great hands. For over 20 years, he has written material for the Oscar hosts and have created some of the greatest Oscar moments. Welcome to OUTview, Bruce.
Thank you. Hello, OUTview, Bruce.
How many Oscar shows have you written for?
This is the 21st. I'm legal now, but I still can't vote.
Oh, no.
I just haven't made enough movies, you know. I guess nobody saw 9.5.
How has it changed over the last 21 years?
What principally has changed is that the movies got smaller, is that the movies that the Academy likes to vote for are independent pictures that don't get a tremendous audience, and as a result, you go into this television show and you have a whole bunch of movies that a lot of people haven't seen, and it's hard to make jokes about them and for them to get what the jokes are. So this year they've expanded the field, so there are 10 movies nominated, and they got a whole bunch of pictures that are $100 million movies that people have seen. In fact, there's one that's a $100 billion movie.
Oh, yes.
So that's how it's changed. It used to be, you know, in the old days, everybody knew every movie star and everybody knew every movie because it was a much more limited field. Now it's bigger.
Wow. Has there ever been a case when someone made a suggestion, like maybe a comedian or one of the other writers, that you said, absolutely not?
Oh, every day. And usually it's me making a suggestion and somebody else is saying it to me.
No, what if...
Yeah, no, that, you know, they don't like my idea of Taylor Lautner and Zac Efron having a wrestling match.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I pitch it every day, and every day they say, go back to your cage.
No, but has it ever been the opposite of where you said no way to a suggestion?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sometimes when, you know, things are kind of an idea that's really funny, but it's too outrageous or inappropriate. And now you want me to give you an example, and I'm trying to think of one that makes perfect sense. Usually, it has to do with jokes, you know, they're maybe great jokes, but we can't tell them. For example, here's a joke you won't hear on the show. Precious is a movie about a girl who was raped twice by her father. And who says men can't commit?
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
that's a great joke, but I mean, you know, rape is not a lighthearted subject, and so I don't think that on a show that's seen all around the world and that lots of kids watch, we're going to be doing a big old joke about rape. But it sure made us laugh when we put it together. And I mean, it's a legitimate joke. I mean, you know, that is what the movie is about. But I'm discovering that, like, any joke you make about Precious, people kind of look at you like you just got off the mothership, and you just haven't figured out how the world works yet. You know?
I know. It's like, how can they make any kind of jokes about Precious?
I know.
You know?
I
Like...
wanted Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin to come out wearing T-shirts, and one said Team Precious, and the other said Team Mama.
Fabulous. Now, speaking of the two hosts, writing each Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin are two different kinds of people. So how is that going to be a challenge to you to write for two different hosts?
Well, I figured if Meryl Streep got through it, I can. It's a challenge. The first challenge is that Steve is somebody who's been writing for himself for many, many years. he started as a stand-up, and he continues to write. He's a terrific writer. Alec is an actor who only writes on the Huffington Post. And when he writes, he's not accustomed to writing this kind of stuff for himself, so they have two different sort of energies. But that's I think the fun part, is that they're two seasoned pros, and they're funny guys. So they each have a kind of a point of view. Alec is professionally angry and political, and Steve is goofy and off center, and I think that's going to serve us very well. That makes for an interesting pair.
Actually, speaking of that, I have a fan question. Alicia from Portland, Oregon wants to know, any hints on Oscar's opening with Steve Martin's talent and Alec Baldwin's cutting wit?
I couldn't possibly tell you that, because that would be giving away a trade secret.
There you go.
But it'll be everything you're hoping for. It'll be visual, and it'll be musical, and it'll be funny, and hopefully it'll be over by 5:15.
That's good. Okay, well, Hugh Jackman did awesome last year. Do you think he'll host again?
He was great. I'm sure he will. He just wasn't going to do it 2 years in a row because he's a movie star. Movie stars make movies. So he was. He loves being a song and dance man and all that. But I'm sure he will come back. He just isn't going to do it. He didn't want to make it, I think, an annual thing. It's it's hard to do that. Some people love it, but he doesn't come from that. So he's great.
I would love to see Whoopi back.
I would too. She did it 4 times.
Yes.
And who knows now that she's one of the queens of ABC daytime? Who knows?
Who knows?
all things are possible.
Okay, and I know you've already answered this question in a straight media outlet. How would you answer to a gay audience? If you could design your fantasy Oscar show, what would it look like?
All nude. Not all nude, partially nude. That's to say the men would be naked.
How would you make it target the gay audience?
We'd see how they measure up to the Oscar.
Well, you do know that
my fantasy is really, really specific.
Have you heard the rumors about how the shape of the Oscar is?
No.
And what it's been used for by actors, but nobody's naming names?
Sure, I've heard. I don't know who they named, but there's a famous story. Actually, this is a true story. A woman who was a columnist was writing a novel, and she wanted to have a scene where a leading lady masturbates with her Oscar. And so she called Billy Wilder, the legendary writer-director of Sunset Boulevard, and she said, because he has several Oscars, and she said, would it be possible for a woman to masturbate with her Oscar? And he said, oh, yes, and so much easier than with her Emmy.
Oh, fabulous. Okay, and I got just one last question.
If you have a burning question, you should see your physician.
The burning question. Any chance of getting you on Glee?
Every chance. I've been camping. I've been bivouacking outside Ryan Murphy's house, hoping he'll notice. So, and Maddie Morrison, who's the lead, the star of Glee, played Link in Hairspray when I was playing Edna.
Wonderful.
And so we're very friendly, and so I keep calling him saying, isn't it time for sort of like a, kind of fat, queenie science teacher or something? But I just figure my time will come. And then when I don't bother him, I bother Jane Lynch.
Oh, yes.
because she's a good friend of mine too. So I mean, I have all my squad is working on it.
That's good. That's good. Because they're getting all the major gay, icon talent for the show. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to try to get you
Yeah,
eventually.
absolutely. And he owes me from. I never did Nip Tuck, and he owes me from that.
There you go. There you go.
Because he cast everybody I know on Nip Tuck, so now it's time. He has
That's
to collect.
good.
I have to collect.
Thank you, Bruce.
Take care. Thanks. Bye.
A huge thank you to Bruce Vilanch for joining us. This has been OUTview. I'm MK Scott, saying so long for now.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.